So let's start with FortiAnalyzer day one today. We will be talking from the scratch, the introduction, the initial configurations, and all those things. It's an important parameter with reference to the NSE 8. Important topic also over there, will be tested for sure. The lesson overview starts with the key features. We'll talk about a few of the concepts in this lesson, initial configuration, and then few of the things related to the external storage. The key feature and the concept of the lessons will be the purpose of the FortiAnalyzer, the purpose of the administrative domain when you might use them. We have already seen in the previous lecture what is ADOMS, difference between the different types of FortiAnalyzer operating modes, identify where the data or the log data is being stored. So let's start with this particular first slide. It's a centralized log repository. Okay. FortiAnalyzer. So FortiAnalyzer basically aggregates the log data. It basically aggregates the log data from one or more or different Fortinet devices, thereby acting as a centralized log repository. Log aggregations provides a single channel for accessing your complete network data. So you don't need to access multiple devices several times per day in order to see the logs. So it creates a single view of security events taking place on different set and range of devices. Okay. The logging and the reporting workflow operates in this way. Registered devices, whatever the registered devices are there, send the logs to the FortiAnalyzer. You will see the logs like FortiGate, FortiGate firewalls, and FortiManagers and all. FortiAnalyzer collects, collates, and store these logs in a way that it makes easier to search and run the reports. So it's a centralized log repository. Centralized log repository, that is your FortiAnalyzer. Administrator basically connects to the FortiAnalyzer using the GUI or maybe with the CLI, their choice, to view the logs manually. They generate the reports from there to look at the data in order to do the RCAs, root cause analysis. Few more things before we go further ahead. Reports, alerts, and content archiving. Some of the key features of the FortiAnalyzer, when you talk about FortiAnalyzer, the key features are includes reporting, alert generation, and content archiving. Let's get a little bit idea about it. Reports. Reports provides a clear picture of the network event, activities, and trends occurring on the supporting devices. It gives you a clear picture about this. The FortiAnalyzer report collates the information in the logs. Okay. They collate the information in the logs so that you can interpret the information and if necessary, take a required action on that. So basically, network-wide reporting of events, network-wide reporting of the activities happening, trends occurring on the supported device. Okay. We can archive and filter the network knowledge you glean from these reports, as well as mine it for the compliances or any historical analysis process. So FortiAnalyzer, one of the main feature is reporting. It generates the reports. Second, alerts. FortiAnalyzer alerts allows you and me to react quickly to the threats. It identifies the threats because it's not realistic to physical monitor your network around the clock, right? We cannot monitor all the way, all the time, your entire network. So FortiAnalyzer alerts allow you to react quickly to the threats. The system can generate alerts when specific condition in the logs are met or the conditions are getting met, that you have configured in the FortiAnalyzer. You can see your alerts on the GUI and you can send them to the multiple recipient like email, like SNMP or like syslog. So alerts identify and react to the network security threats quickly. So you can take a decisive steps on that. And when specific condition in the logs are going to get met. The third feature of FortiAnalyzer is content archiving. Content archiving provides a way to simultaneously log and archive full or summary copies of the content transmitted over the network. Okay, simultaneously gonna log it and archive full or summary copies. Full copies, full logs, or summary copies of the content transmitted over the network. It could be email, it could be FTP, it could be NNTP, or it could be web traffic. You typically use content archiving to prevent sensitive information from getting out of your organization network. It is being used typically to prevent sensitive information from getting out. So this is kind of DLP, which we call as and known as data loss prevention. Okay. So three main features of FortiAnalyzer: report generation, alerts, and content archiving. Content archiving main objective is to prevent the sensitive informations from getting out of your network. ADOMS. We all know that ADOMS allow us to group devices to monitor and manage, right? ADOMS group devices to administrator to monitors and manage. For example, an administrator can manage devices that are grouped, maybe based on the geographical locations or the business division. One or more devices are assigned to ADOMS and the administrator can assign to the administrative in that way. What are the main purpose of the ADOMS, which we have already seen? I'll do a quick recap. The purpose is to divide the administration of the devices and their restrictive control access. One ADOM can have VDOMs, a feature of the FortiGate, further restrict accesses. To more efficiently manage data policies and disk space allocation set for each ADOM, not for each device. ADOMs are not available or enabled by default. We need to do it. So that is the place, system settings, and you can enable the ADOMs for that particular case. Next. Important. FortiAnalyzer operating modes. Okay. FortiAnalyzer have two modes, two operation modes. Analyzer, it is going to act as an analyzer and it is going to act as a collector. The mode of operation you choose depends on your network topology and as per the individual requirement. When operating system and when operating into the analyzer mode, say for example, the device, so if you have a FortiAnalyzer and it is acting in an analyzer mode, FortiDevices sends directly logs to the central log management plane, which is your analyzer. So device acts as a central log aggregator. It is act as aggregator for one or more log collectors. So these could be the collectors and this would be an aggregator. When operating in the collector mode, the another mode is called as the collector mode. The device collects logs from multiple devices and then forward those logs in a binary format. In a binary format, we will see that also. To the another device such as FortiAnalyzer running in an analyzing mode. It can also send them to an external syslog server like Kiwi Syslog, SolarWind, okay? External syslog server or to any CEF servers, which is called as common event format servers, depending on the forwarding mode. A collector does not have the same feature-rich option as an analyzer. That means collector has less option than analyzer, because its only purpose is to collect and forward. It does not allow event management and reporting. No reporting will be done. So FortiCollector can forward the syslog and to the common event forwarding servers in a real time. It is just used to collect the logs and forward it. You can change the operating mode in the system setting, dashboard, operation mode, analyzer, or collector. Why we need a collector when we have analyzer available? To efficiently increase the performance of FortiAnalyzer. Meaning, I can have a FortiAnalyzer and the operating mode of the FortiAnalyzer would be analyzer only. And this way, it can take the logs directly from the FortiGate firewalls. It can take the logs from FortiClient. It can take this from the FortiGate manager. It can take from FortiWeb. It can take from FortiSandbox. It can take from FortiMail. It can take it from what is left? DDoS. It can take it from DDoS, FortiCache, and so on and so forth. All can send the traffic to the analyzer. But you have one more mode. Rather than sending directly to the analyzer and feed it up, you can have two FortiAnalyzer, one FortiAnalyzer run in an analyzer mode only. And in the analyzer mode, you run the reports and all. The another FortiGate firewall, you can run in a collector mode. So it's like a barricade. It's a barrier between them. And this collector is going to collect from everywhere. And this collector can send it to the third-party vendors also, third-party syslog servers. So if I go back, if I go back over here, it will help you to understand a little bit more. So by using the combination of both the modes, being it collector or an analyzer, you basically increase the FortiAnalyzer together collectively performance. Collector offloads. The main use of the collector is the offloads. The task of receiving the logs from multiple devices from the analyzers. This allows the analyzer to focus on the data analysis, and this allows analyzer, rather than collecting from hundreds of devices, the analyzer is going to collect it only from the collector, one device. And its main objective is now only sold down to create the reports and data analytics. Furthermore, because the collector is strictly dedicated to the log collection, its log receiving rate and speed are maximized, because the whole sole agenda of the collector is just to do what? To receive the logs, nothing else. So the collector rate and speed are more than the analyzer. But with feature-wise, it is minimalistic than comparatively to that. If bandwidth is an issue, like in a case of slow WAN links, right? If bandwidth is an issue for you, you can use the store and upload option to send the logs only during the low bandwidth period. So collector can help with slow or unreliable links by storing the logs and forwarding them on a exactly schedule. Like say, for example, in the midnight, if you see that the load and the bandwidth is on that particular link is low, now you send it. If the load is high, please hold it. You can schedule it up. For the collector, you should allocate most of the disk space for the archive, since it is going to take everything. Since collector does not perform any analytical task, collector does not do any of the reporting, it should have most of the disk space allocated for the archive. And that's the collector collaboration with the analyzer. So the best practice is use both two analyzers or three analyzers, two as a collector, one as an analyzer. Database language support. SQL is the database language that Fortinet or FortiAnalyzer is going to use. It supports structured query language for the reporting and the logging. Advanced reporting capabilities require some knowledge of SQL and database. For example, you may need to compare custom SQL queries known as data set and to extract data you require from the database. So for that, you need more detailed depth knowledge of SQL. Knowledge check. Which FortiAnalyzer feature allows you to group devices that administrator can monitor and manage? Answer is A down. Which operating mode on FortiAnalyzer is used to collect logs from multiple devices and then forward those logs to another devices? The answer is collector. So the first bar of the chapter is being finished. Next. Now we're going to see the initial configuration. When you talk about the initial configuration, it is important to know the factory default settings, such as what is the default username and password, the port 1 IP address, and so on and so forth. So use factory default setting to initially log in into the FortiAnalyzer and start beginning your configuration. You can find default setting in your Fortinet quick guide that we have it. You can have it from there. Always use port 1 to connect FortiAnalyzer with the management computer. Think in a way, port 1 is basically the management port. If you are deploying the FortiAnalyzer as a VM and the management IP address, depends on the virtualization platform or the cloud provider you are using. So by default, there is no username and the password. Okay. There is no username and the password. The port 1, default IP, net mask, HTTPS or SSH, that are going to use it over there. Next. Available tools to configure FortiAnalyzer. What do you mean by this? So just like the FortiGate firewall, okay? Just like the FortiGate firewall, the GUI and the CLI are the two configuration tools that we can use to manage the FortiAnalyzer. You have the GUI as well as the CLI. You can use both tools locally by connecting directly to the FortiAnalyzer, whatever the management IP you guys are going to put it down the line, and remotely based on your configured settings. You can actually deny which IP needs to be get logged in or permit. When you use the CLI, you can run the command called as CLI console. You can use the CLI console. Available on the GUI widget. From there itself, FortiAnalyzer CLI, from there itself, it will open it. Or you can use the putty, or using the putty, another thing, you can use SSH also to the box. The FortiAnalyzer available on the GUI and CLI depends on the profile of the administrator with which you have logged in into it. For example, when operating in a collector mode, the GUI doesn't include FortiView. You see that? FortiView, you cannot see that. FortiView reports, FortiSOC, FortiFabric view. So if you have logged in with the collector mode, analyzer running in a collector mode, these other things will not be seen. Also, if you have logged in with the standard user or any restrictive user, administrator profile, full privilege access, like throughout this super user profile, few of the features will not be available. Any configuration change that you're going to do it in GUI or the CLI is going to get impacted or applicable immediately, then and there itself. It is going to get changed then and there itself. Note that the SQL database, which a moment back I have told you, is disabled by default whenever the analyzer is running in a collector mode. Remember that. And more elaborated thing, I'll explain it in next few minutes. Next. Login in for the first time. So to log in into the FortiAnalyzer GUI for the first time, open the browser and enter whatever the IP you have given it. After the login screen, use the factory default administrator credential, which is admin, and leave the password as a blank. Leave the password as blank. To log in into the CLI for the first time, you can use two of the method. Either you can use the integrated CLI console from the GUI itself, or you can use the PuTTY. The choice is yours. Any of the way, you can use it whenever you wanted to do it. The FortiAnalyzer setup wizard appears after you log in into the first time. It's a wizard. It's a setup wizard. You can use it to register FortiAnalyzer devices with FortiCare. You can do it. Register with the FortiCare. Change the password, time zones, define the host names, and done. You can move ahead to the next thing. These things you can do it later also into the segment. Changing the default password. Once you log in into the FortiAnalyzer for the first time, you have for whatever the user is there, you have an option of change the password. And make sure that the old password, new password, you can change it. Whatever the new password you want to do it. You can increase the security of a security administrator or accounts by configuring the global password policy for all the administrator. You can have a password policy like minimum let, uppercase, lowercase, when the admin password expire after how many days, special characters you wanted to indulge into this or not. Some security recommendations. Before reviewing the configuration settings, it is necessary to discuss the importance of the security. FortiAnalyzer stores your network log information, so it's vital that you protect your data correctly. Indeed, it is very important. So here we're gonna talk about some security recommendations. So deploy FortiAnalyzer in a protected and a trusted private network. You should never deploy it in outside the network. This should be in your security domain. This should be in your security domain. Always use a secure communicated or communication method or connection method like HTTP and HTTPS and SSH, even though you are in a private network. Use trusted host on your users to allow logins only from the specific locations. So when you talk about trusted host, you're talking about you can log in from a specific location from a particular subnet. If you do not need, or if you do need to open outside access to the devices so that the remote FortiGate devices can connect, open only those ports which are necessary for this. Any additional port, if you're going to open it, if access from the outside is required, only open the ports necessary. If access from the outside is required, set up special users only and use only secure protocols. Always use the secure password and make sure you store your administrator password in a secure place, because FortiAnalyzer does not support, very important point, does not support password recovery. The initial configuration of FortiAnalyzer is very similar with reference to the FortiGate firewall. In order to configure the FortiAnalyzer for your network, you must set the IP addresses of the interfaces according to this topology and whatever in your network domain you have it. Select supported administrative access protocols and specify a gateway. It's pretty much like, or you can define the DNS also. You can define a gateway, you can define the IP, you can define the IDs, which interface, and so on and so forth. Setting up your own IP address and netmarks provides security than using the default addresses. So I'm going to provide my own IP. What are the administrative access you wanted to apply? Ping, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS. In order this FortiAnalyzer to connect with FortiManager, you have to enable this also. The status of the port is enabled. If you want to configure another port of the analyzers, you can specify, you want to create a new, you can specify assign IPv4 and IPv6 static routes. You can create your own routing table, add route you wanted to add how, which port, what gateway, what is the destination. So assign IPv4, IPv6 static routes to a different gateway so that the packets are assigned by a different route. Next, reset the configuration. That's also we should know about it. If you need to reset your configuration, you can use the following commands. Execute, reset all settings. This command erases the show configuration on the flash, which we have discussed. This is going to erase the show configuration on flash, which contains the IP address and the routes. While execute reset all except IP command leaves the settings of the IP addresses and the route. To reset all the setting except the current IP and the route, you have this. Execute reset all settings are going to do a factory default settings. You want to accept the IP addresses and the route, you can leave those things and rest everything will be performed. Execute format disk command erase all the device settings, images, databases, right? Images, databases, device settings, log data from the disk. But again, it is going to preserve IP and the routing info. It is a best practice to run these commands while connected directly using the console port to avoid losing your connectivity. So always use a console in order to put this particular command or execution of this command. There are basic CLI commands when it comes to the FortiAnalyzers. And these are get system status, display the status of your FortiAnalyzer device, show system interface, display the network interface configuration, source system DNS post.ntb, show system route, and execute ping. Viewing some server-related information, diagnose system print, CPU info. It is going to tell you about the CPU utilizations. Print DF, disk space. Host, print the static table, look up for the host names. Load average or average load on the system. Net start, print the network statistics. Network statistics is net start. Partitions of the system, as well as the route. Print the main route list command, which includes destination, gateway, and all. All this which we are discussing right now, it's all about a part of backup and the administrative this. So we have to understand the backup also. This is all what we are talking about is an administrative concept. After you have completed your initial configuration, it's always advisable. You should take a backup as a best practice. So you can take a backup directly. That depends on you, sir. You want to take it local or you can send it to an external device also. Okay. So system configuration backup contains everything except the actual logs. Please note that system information type of the backup contains everything except the actual logs and the generated report. It does not include your reports. You can backup logs and reports using the GUI or using the CLI with the command called as execute backup, which I'll let you know. That's what I'm saying. System configuration backup contains system information, device list, report information, but it does not include the actual logs and generated reports. Backups can be stored only in the same model, only to the same model and the firmware version. Okay, the backup can be restored only to the same model, and I've taken a backup of XYZ device with ABC version. I cannot upload that backup to the JKL device and MNOQ version. Can't do that. Your backups can be encrypted fully. You can use that. Encrypted backups are there. Encrypted backups are not recommended when dealing with, again, Forti software or Forti support. My bad. Restore configuration from any previous backups. You can do that also. And if your FortiAnalyzer is a VM, you may also use VM snapshot. You can also use snapshots. There are a few best practices that you can follow it. The following are some best practices that we have it for operating the analyzers or FortiAnalyzers. Always turn off analyzer in a graceful way, because not doing can damage the database. So how to gracefully restart the FortiAnalyzer? Execute shutdown. Have FortiAnalyzer running on an UPS to prevent any unexpected power off events. Also ensure your UPS is stable and have sufficient current to ensure the expected behavior. For ease of use, save an unencrypted backup. As I mentioned, Forti support will be there. Synchronize the time on the FortiAnalyzer with NTP. Implement a comprehensive backup plan. Increase reliability by configuring HA and link aggregation. Knowledge check. You want to permit administrative login on FortiAnalyzers from specific location only. Use trusted host. We have done that. What should you always do after erasing the configuration from the flash memory? Execute format disk command. It's pretty much like when you format your system also. Next, external storage. We will talk about the understanding of the connectors, fabric connectors. How? Fabric connectors. What is fabric connector that we have it? Fabric connectors, you can configure to send the logs, right? So storage connectors allow you to take the backup, whatever you want to do that. The storage connectors also allows you to backup data to the public clouds, external clouds. This is what Balari you may ask you. You can configure the FortiAnalyzer to send the logs or notification events to an external cloud platform. It could be in AWS, Azure, Google. I think lately they have started with the Oracle Cloud also. Support for these features requires you to configure the following components on Analyzer. You need to have a fabric connector. So create a new fabric connector. You can see options is there, quite little blurred there, but you can have this. Create a fabric connector for what you wanted to do it. You want to do it for Amazon. You wanted to do it So 𝐿FIN is not being available as of now. With this FortiAnalyzer, FortiGate, it is there, 𝐿FIN, as an orchestration tool, right? But not as if now with this. So it creates a fabric, you need to create. And then if you are doing this fabric connector for the cloud, you need to have a cloud storage also. Forti connectors also helps to send the notification to the ITCM services like Slack, webhook. It also sends to the Forti client, EMS, FortiMail, CASB, and other stuffs. It improves the data redundancy, whatever the logs you have it, which is being stored locally, you can send it to the external world also. Data redundancy for the log, reduce performance degradations also. It's an important thing to do it. Next. In order to send the logs to the cloud, next, storage service connectors or storage connector services. It requires a separate license for the storage connector. You see that? To send the things towards the cloud. So in order to send logs to the cloud platform, you must have a separate license. And this license, which I'm talking about, includes storage limitation, amount of the data that can be uploaded to the cloud platform, storage limitation, expiry date, the date up to which the storage data can be sent. Normally, it is valid for 1 year. This license does not include the storage used on the cloud provider. No. It's only for this. Okay. So you need to have a proper license in order to do this. Diagnose FM update DB contract FDS commands to find out about the license validity and expiry date. So this is the command with which you come to know about the license validity and expiry date. Diagnose test application upload command gives details such as usage quota, how much is being usage, what is the status, how many days left, how much gig has been used, number of the files uploaded, and so on and so forth. So this is your storage connector services. Next. And this is your chapter number 1, which we have done it. Okay. So what is the quick review? Describe the purpose of the FortiAnalyzer to collect the logs. Describe the purpose of the ADOMS, different analyzing mode, collector and analyzer. Identify where the log is going to be get stored. Access to the FortiAnalyzer in the initials. Identify the tools you can use to configure this. Change the default password. Add FortiAnalyzer to your network. We have taken a backup of that and understanding the fabric connector in order to connect this with the cloud.